the next example that we have here with us is, he said he will not be flying a kite. Said is the reporting verb. What is the tense? The tense is past tense, right? And you have the auxiliary verb will. Will is the auxiliary verb and will indicates future time. So flying is the main verb which indicates action, and flying has ing added to it, which means it is in the continuous tense. So what is the tense of this entire sentence, students? It is in future continuous tense. Now, since said is the reporting verb and it is in the past tense, will change to would. So how are we going to therefore change this particular sentence into the indirect speech? You will write it as, he said that. Now, H over here is in capital letter. Why is this H in capital letter? That is because it is the beginning of the sentence. But now when we write it in the indirect speech, this he will not be the beginning of the sentence. It is the continuation of the sentence. Therefore, take care to see that this capital H is changed to small h. So, he said that he would not be flying a kite. So, he said he will not be flying a kite. So, the entire sentence that is given to us in the direct speech is in future continuous tense, because will indicates future time and it is the auxiliary verb. Flying is the main verb which has ing added to it, and therefore it is in the continuous tense. So, the whole sentence is in future continuous. So, we have already discussed that modal verbs like will change to would, shall will change to should, can will change to could, may will change to might. We have discussed that earlier. So, I am just highlighting it once again, student. Will change to would. So, the entire sentence therefore is, he said that he would not be flying a kite. And please end the sentence with a full stop. Let's move on to the next example, students. The next example is, he said, I will have finished the work. I repeat, he said, I will have finished the work. Now, there is a full stop which is missing here in the direct speech, children. After the full stop, you need to have the close inverted commas. So, after the word said, there is a comma, and before the close inverted commas, there is a full stop which is missing. Kindly insert the full stop. Which is the reporting verb? By now, you should know what the reporting verb is. So, said is the reporting verb. I just write it as are we. And here, this particular sentence that is given to us has both the auxiliary verb as well as the main verb. Okay, we have two auxiliary verbs and one main verb. Yes, am I right? There is not just one auxiliary verb, we have two auxiliary verbs and one main verb. Now, which are the two auxiliary verbs that we have here? One is will, the other is have. And we have the main verb which is finished. So, both will and have are auxiliary verbs. Will indicates future time. Have is perfect tense. And finished is the main verb and it has ed added to it, which indicates that it is in the past tense. But you cannot say it is future perfect past, right? Because tenses are broadly classified into three categories: present tense, past tense and future tense. So, these are the three broad classifications of tenses. When you have already identified will as the future tense, though finished is ending with the letters ed and it is in the past tense, you will not consider this as the tense of the sentence. You will always go by the main verbs Even when I was teaching you all active and passive voice students, I have told you many times in my discussion regarding active and passive voice, I told you, you have to consider the tense of the auxiliary verb. If the tense of the auxiliary verb is not present, then you will have to consider the tense of the main verb. So the same applies here also. You are going to consider the tense of the auxiliary verbs and not so much the tense of the main verb, because the tense is mainly indicated by the auxiliary verbs. So when we have identified will as the future tense, you cannot say it is future perfect past. It becomes meaningless. Therefore, I have just put a circle here and told that it is past tense. Okay, because you should understand that when you add ed to a main verb, you are changing it from present tense to past tense. But when you already have the auxiliary verb will, which is future tense, ignore the fact that you have the past tense here. So the entire sentence is in future perfect tense. So we have also understood that when said is the reporting verb which is in the past tense, you have already made a note that will should change to would. So again, this is very, very simple. How are you going to change it into the indirect speech? He said that he would have finished the work. I repeat, he said that he would have finished the work. I will change to he. Why? Because this I is a reference to he. So you will not be writing it as I, you will change the I to he. So how are we going to write it? Shall we go about writing the sentence? He said that. What is I going to change? Since I is a reference to he, I will change to he. That he will change to would. That he would have finished the work. Please put a full stop at the end of the sentence. So the indirect speech of this particular sentence is, he said that he would have finished the work. They said, we love our country. I repeat, they said, we love our country. Now, which is the reporting verb? The reporting verb is obviously said. So, said is the reporting verb, which is in the past tense. Now, what is the sentence that is enclosed within the inverted commas? When I say enclosed, what do I mean? It is put within the inverted commas. We have the open inverted commas before the word we, and we have the close inverted commas after the word country. So, the sentence which is enclosed within the inverted commas is, we love our country. So, how are we going to change this? Now, this particular sentence does not have the auxiliary verb. It has only the main verb. Which is the main verb here? The main verb here is love. Love is the main verb, and it indicates present tense. So, they said, we love our country. Now, how are we going to change this particular sentence into the indirect speech? So, retain the word said as it is. They said, and you can write the word that. They said that. Now, we will not remain as we. We will obviously change to they. So, they said that they love their country. Notice, I haven't changed. Though the reporting verb is in the past tense, actual rule says that if the reporting verb is in the past tense, then simple present should change to simple past. Now, every rule has an exception, students. And this is an exception. The reason is, it's not that today you're going to love your country, tomorrow you're going to develop hatred for your country. Is it so? No. Your love for the country or your hatred for the country cannot be fluctuating. Always, as Indians, we have to show love, and you should have patriotism for your country. Remember, one of your fundamental rights or fundamental duties, I should be saying, is to sacrifice yourself for the sake of the country. So, being a social science student as well, you should know that you should always have love for your country. If you don't love your country, do you think an Englishman will love your country? A Chinese will love your country? No. So, it is not that today you love your country and tomorrow you hate your country, right? So, this is something that you should always do. It's something like a habitual action. Just like how you say, I wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning. I have my lunch at 1 p.m. I go to bed at 10 p.m. in the night, right? So that is a habitual action. Similarly, loving your country, you should have this feeling of love for your country throughout your lives until the very last breath of your life. ಈ ದೇಶ ಪ್ರೇಮ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಾವು ಸಾಯೋ ತನಕ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿರಬೇಕು. ಇವತ್ತು ನೀವು ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರೇಮ ತೋರಿಸಿ ನಾಳೆ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ದೇಶನ ದ್ವೇಷಿಸಬಾರ್ದು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈ ಲವ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಲವ್ ಆಗೇ ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅದನ್ನು ಲವ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ಎನಿ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಚುಯಲ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್, ಯು ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಚೇಂಜ್ ದ ಟೆನ್ಸ್. The tense will remain in the present tense itself, even though the word said is the reporting verb and it is in the past tense. I once again repeat, children, it's not that you love your country today and you're going to hate your country tomorrow. As Indians, as future citizens of the country, students, you should always love your country, no matter what happens. There is a very beautiful proverb which says, can you tell me? Can you recall something? Ask not what the country has done for you, but what you have done for your country. All of us blame the government. We blame the country. We say we don't get enough opportunities for us to come up in life. But what have you done as a citizen of the nation is also equally important. So since this love should be there for the country until the last breath of your life, this is a habitual action, something like a habitual action, and therefore you are not changing this love which is in the present tense to its past tense. That is why I have retained the word love as it is. So they said that they love their country. No matter what happens, we as Indians should always love our country. Let us show patriotism for our country till the last breath of our lives. Now, something similar to this, I have a few more exercises to teach you all. Children, so let us go to a few more exercises where, though the word said is in the past tense, the tense will not undergo change. So this is a higher order of changing from direct to indirect. So the first level that we have so far discussed is, if the reporting verb is in the past tense, then whatever sentence is given within the inverted commas will change from simple present to simple past, present continuous to past continuous, present perfect continuous to past perfect continuous, and past tense also to past perfect. So, though the word said is the reporting verb and it is in the past tense, you are not going to change the main verb love to its past tense. You are going to retain the word love as it is. Now, shall we have a few more examples of this kind where we are not going to change the tense? Yes, are you all ready for that kind of an exercise? Yes. Please continue to have your paper and pens with you, students. The next sentence that is given to us is, he said, I wrote a letter. I repeat, he said, I wrote a letter. Now you've got to change this into indirect speech. Now let's first identify where is the reporting verb and what is the tense of the reporting verb. So, said is the reporting verb. And what is the tense of this reporting verb? It is in the past tense. And what does the rule say? If the reporting verb is in the past tense, then it should change from simple present to simple past, present continuous to past continuous, present perfect to past perfect, present perfect continuous to past perfect continuous, and past tense also to past perfect. Now, do we have any auxiliary verb in the sentence that is within the inverted comma, students? Obviously not, but we have the main verb, wrote. So, wrote is the main verb and wrote is the past tense of write. That means this particular sentence, which is within the inverted commas, it is already in the past tense. So, if the sentence that is given to us, which is to be changed into the indirect speech, if it is already in the past tense, then it changes to past perfect. So, the only word that indicates past perfect is had. So, how will I change this from the direct speech to the indirect speech? I will simply write it as he said that he had written a letter. He said that he had written a letter. Now, it is better that you write it as simple present. Instead of calling it as present simple, it's always better to have it as simple present. I've made this S as capital letter. Simple present, okay, will change to simple past. Now, he said, I wrote a letter. Now, wrote is past tense, right? So, this whole sentence that is there within the inverted commas, does it indicate present? Definitely not. It indicates past tense. So, it is in the simple past. He said, I wrote a letter. Wrote is the past tense. Write is present tense. Wrote is past tense. So, how are you going to change this into the indirect speech? He said that he had written a letter. Had is past perfect. The only word which indicates past perfect is had. The two words which indicate present perfect are has and have. Has is singular in number, have is plural in number. So, this is a print mistake, students. This is not simple present. This is simple past, because wrote is past tense, write is present tense, and written is past participle form. So, I have told you before also that every verb has three forms: present tense, past tense and past participle. Write, wrote, written. So, when you are using the perfect tense, you have to change it from wrote to written. Did you all understand, students? Whenever we have the word had or have inserted in the sentence, please remember that the given verb should be changed into its past participle form. So, he said that he had written a letter is the indirect speech of he said I wrote a letter. Did you all understand? I would now like to focus your attention on other examples just to show how, though the reporting verb is in the past tense, the tense will not undergo any change. So, let's begin with a few more of those kind of examples. The first sentence that I would like to give you is, the teacher said to John, okay, I put a comma. The teacher said to John, open inverted commas, there are 12 months in a year. Full stop and close inverted commas. I repeat, the teacher said to John, there are 12 months in a year. Now, said is the reporting verb and it is in the past tense, right? And what was the example given here? There are 12 months in a year. Now are is the auxiliary verb and it indicates present tense. Fine. So the rule what we have been learning so far is, if the reporting verb is in the past tense, then this whole sentence which is within the inverted commas will change from simple present to simple past. Now here children, please pay attention. You are not going to change this into past tense. The reason is, throughout the world, it's a universal truth that a year is made up of 12 months. You cannot have a year less than 12 months or you cannot have a year more than 12 months. Everybody throughout the world accepts the fact that there are 12 months in a year. So if it is a universal truth, you call such statements as universal truths. UNIVERSAL. Universal truths. So whatever sentence you have which express a universal truth, remember, even if the reporting verb is in the past tense, the tense will remain as it is. It does not undergo any change. So are will still remain as are. You are not going to change it to were. So how are you going to write this in the indirect speech therefore, students? You will be writing it as the teacher said to John that there are 12 months in a year. Full stop. So students, relating to the universal truth, I shall give you one more example just to make it very, very clear to you that whenever you have sentences which express universal truths, do not change the tense. I repeat, if sentences within the inverted commas express a universal truth, please do not change the tense even if the reporting verb is in the past tense. So one example I have already given you. I'll give you one more example or two more examples just to make you understand what are universal truths and that you should not be changing the tense of the reported speech. So one more example that I would like to give you is, the teacher said to the students, comma, open inverted commas, the sun, S-U-N, is at the center of the solar system. Full stop and then close inverted commas. I repeat, the teacher said to the students, the sun is at the center of the solar system. Now, said is the reporting verb which is in the past tense. Now, what is the sentence that is given in the direct speech? The sun is at the center of the solar system. Which is the auxiliary verb here? Is the auxiliary verb. And what is the tense of this auxiliary verb? It is in the present tense. Correct? Everyone, all the people throughout the world believe and understand that the sun is at the center of the solar system. It's a universal truth. So when you have sentences which express universal truth, please do not change the tense, children. Let it remain in the present tense. So how are you going to change this into indirect speech? Very simple. You just have to remove the inverted commas and put a full stop at the end of the sentence. The teacher said to the students that the sun is at the center of the solar system. So that is going to be your answer. So why haven't I changed this from is to was? The reason is this particular sentence, the sun is at the center of the solar system, is expressing a universal truth. So whenever you have sentences expressing the universal truths, please students remember not to change the tense. So how are we going to write this? Yes, let us write this now in the indirect speech. So we shall write that particular sentence, students. The teacher said to the students that the sun is at the center of the solar system. Full stop. Now let's go to one more example of a similar kind. Example number 3. Radha said to Rekha, comma, there are 7 days in a week. Full stop, close inverted commas. So, Radha said to Rekha, there are 7 days in a week. Now, said is the reporting verb which is in the past tense. Now, what is the sentence that has been given to us? The sentence that has been given to us is, there are 7 days in a week. Is it not a universal truth? Yes, this is also an example of a universal truth. There are 12 months in a year. There are 7 days in a week. There are 365 days in a year. Leap year occurs once in 4 years. All these are universal truths. So, any universal truth given within the inverted commas, please remember, children, not to change the tense. So, this is also another example of a sentence which expresses universal truth. So, how are we going to change this into the indirect speech? Therefore, Radha said to Rekha that there are 7 days in a week. Full stop. So, this is another example that we have discussed regarding universal truths. So, once again I highlight this fact, children. Do not change the tense when you are changing from the direct to the indirect if the sentences given within the inverted commas express universal truths. So, let us quickly recapitulate whatever rules that we have discussed so far. So, if the reporting verb is in the past tense, then the sentence which is given within the inverted commas changes from simple present to simple past, present continuous to past continuous, present perfect to past perfect, present perfect continuous to past perfect continuous, past tense also to past perfect. And one more rule what we discussed was, if the sentence within the inverted commas express universal truths, then the tense should not undergo any change. Now, there are a few more examples which I would like to give where, now if you have noticed, children, I have retained this verb that is said even in the indirect speech. Sometimes you need to change the word said into some other word. Now, I shall give you an example where said can change to ordered or requested or asked, etc.